This week on Art in the Air, we speak with Indiana Arts Commission Deputy Director Paige Sharp about programs, grants, and her own art journey. Next, we speak with Dave Mika, the new Executive Director for South Shore Arts. Our spotlight is on Alicia Hodges and her 40 to 40 photography exhibit featuring beautiful women over 40.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m., plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. And we'd like to welcome to Art in the Air Spotlight, Alicia Hodges. She has a new project that's inspired by fashion magazines, her personal stories from her clients. She wants women to look beautiful, and she has a whole project using it. She runs a photo studio, and she wants to capture them with her camera. Project that's going to go to Woman magazine, and she wants to feature many of them. Alicia, welcome to Art in the Air Spotlight.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Esther. How are you?
We're good. We're excited to hear about your 40 to 40 exhibit.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us real briefly about your photography business just as a whole, and then we want to get into what the exhibit is going to be about and how you're going to do that, and if you're looking for people to be part of it.
Okay. Well, my business, we moved here about 4 years ago, and I mainly was shooting high school seniors, moved into the genre of women age 40 and over, for a couple of reasons. Once I realized it doesn't exist, and we're just not being represented at all in social media, the world. So I decided to go in that niche, photographing women age 40 and over, and that kind of led to my project.
And so what was the inspiration for this project? I mean, I thought like fashion magazines or something, or what caused you to look for that?
So what really spurred me to start this project was, it's not my original idea. It was actually something a mentor of mine mentioned a few years ago, and I kind of put it on the back burner. What kind of spurred me to want to do the project was my granddaughter. She was 6 at the time. She'd come to visit from down south. We would take photos every year as a tradition. And I took a picture of her one day and loved it. Immediately thought, I'm going to turn it around. She's going to see the back of the camera and she's going to love it. That's not what happened. She didn't smile, and she said, I don't like it. I don't like the way my cheeks look in it. And she said, I don't like the way that they're not like my cousins. So this kind of started my thinking process on how, at 6 years old, is she learning this ability to compare herself to others. So, and again, something happens when we women turn 40. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's biological, maybe it's not. But we begin to step into our own authenticity. We begin to love our skin. And I felt like it's kind of backwards. We should be teaching that to ourselves and our younger generations when we're 6, not 40. So that's kind of what spurred the project.
So how did you announce it? Did you put a call out did you approach different women that you admired maybe?
I did it all, Esther. I spoke wherever I could. I, posted on social media. I did it all everywhere that I could talk about this to women. I did. And, it's just been amazing. It's just been an amazing turnout of women.
And so someone's interested in the project, and we'll talk about websites and things later. You're looking for what age range and things like that, and give us kind of a focus if someone wants to be part of.
Or do you have all 40 right now?
You know what? I do not have all 40. I have about 10 slots left to fill. It's been an ongoing project because for some reason I decided it would be a good idea to start it during the pandemic. But anyway. We like to feature women ages 40 and over. So 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I want these women to step in front of my lens, share their stories, so that the stories can ripple out and empower other women, just affect others in a positive manner. It's what we women really need. And especially at the age of 40 and beyond, for some reason, we begin to disappear, and from social media, from everywhere. It's just kind of odd when it's the best time of a woman's life, in my opinion.
So, can you describe the experience that they will have? Like, when somebody first approaches you, can you just describe the process?
Sure. So if you're interested in being a part of the 40 over 40 project, you can go to my website. I have an application that you can fill out. It has questions like what's prompting you to want to be a part of the project now. Most women have a story that they want to tell. Something major has happened in their life. And then again, some people are just like, this sounds amazing, and I want to celebrate myself for right now. And that's kind of, the application process. From there, we get on a phone conversation. We talk about, what do you want to see in your photos? How do you want to feel? I provide professional hair, makeup artistry. We do a wardrobe consultation, a custom design session for you. If you want to have your photos taken in something beautiful, red tulle gown, flowing with hair blowing like Beyonce, we're going to do it. It's mostly about sharing your story, reminding you of the beauty that you have right now, and sharing that with with the world.
Well, go ahead and give us the website at this point, so how they can get in touch with you. And are you going to end up with an actual exhibit that goes into a gallery?
Sure. Website is aliciahodgesportraiture.com. And there's a tab at the top that says 40 over 40 where you can apply. And 100%, we're going to have a gallery exhibit. The entire project is going to culminate in this gallery exhibit. Each of the women, I'm going to have a large portrait that I choose from their sessions. It's going to be printed and displayed in this gala exhibit, and women are going to come with their partners, their spouses, their friends, their whoever, and just really enjoy that common bond of being a part of this project. I'm going to include a magazine that I'm putting together as a gift, and it's just going to be a wonderful time.
Very good. Give us that website one more time as we wrap it up here.
Sure. It's AliciaHodgesPortraiture.com. Click on the 40 over 40 tab and apply.
Beautiful.
So, very good. That's a great project. Alicia Hodges, AliciaHodgesPortraiture.com, Women to Women Project 40. She wants to make you be beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your project on Art in the Air Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. And we'd like to welcome to Art in the Air. She serves as Deputy Director now for programs at the Indiana Arts Commission, where she oversees and directs and manages all the institutional programs and statewide services, grant programs, which both Esther and I have been involved with, both as panelists and facilitators. She graduated with a BFA from the School Arts Art Institute in Chicago, and many, many other things. So we want to find all about her. Welcome to Art in the Air, Paige Sharp.
Thank you, Larry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Paige.
What we always like to start off with, Paige, is we want to get a feel for everything. How I like to say is how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us all about yourself.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Well, I grew up in Indiana. I grew up in West Lafayette. And so right in the neighborhood, it feels like was Purdue University. So I really appreciated growing up in a university town. and getting to know such a diversity of students since we had, professors and folks from all over the world, which was a really a great opportunity to connect with and learn from so many different individuals. And I don't know that early on I was really that interested in the arts, but in high school I got involved with it and I just absolutely loved it. So I started taking classes at Purdue when I was I think a sophomore in high school.
What type of classes did you take?
Well, I took painting classes, drawing classes, things like that, and then over the years, I just was really into the arts, and my parents took me to a portfolio day at Heron, and I was accepted on the spot with a scholarship. So I ended up going to the Art Institute of Chicago. The portfolio day was for all kinds of institutions, and so that's where I really connected with. So Chicago was a really fascinating place, it's growing up in Indiana, which is really flat and rural, to being in a space where all these buildings limit your line of sight. And it was like fairy tale land. I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. So I ended up going to the Art Institute of Chicago. I love Indiana. I mean, it's home. So I came back and luckily I had taught at the local art museum. So I went back there and I ended up running the education department at the museum back home. And, like many, many Hoosiers have left the state, but just keep coming back. So I've lived in all kinds of different places, Chattanooga, Tennessee, International Falls, Minnesota, but continue to come back. Eventually, I started, my first grant I ever wrote was to the Indiana Arts Commission. And I talked to Bobby Garver, who was a program manager there, and I just thought she was so great. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is really amazing. This grant for like $1,000 is telling me work with underserved communities and partner and collaborate and all of the things that we still talk about now. And it's many, many years later. Let's be real. That those values are still there, but it's an incentive to really make a difference and make meaning in ways that really connects the arts at a broader community level. I thought that was really fantastic. So eventually I made my way to managing grants in a regional world, and then eventually to the Arts Commission. And I've been with the commission about 9 years, maybe almost 10 years, and just sort of slowly have been moving up the chain, if you will, and really focusing on how to bring access to the arts for all throughout the state of Indiana, being very inclusive in that design. And I think I have a long history of being in the arts, and I just love it so much, so passionately. For visual arts in particular, that's really my jam. But all arts are something that I advocate for. So it's been a real privilege to be in the position that I'm in, and a great joy to also be on the statewide level and meet people like Esther, you, and Larry, which has been so great to make all those connections.
Paige, with all of that, do you still have time to maintain a studio practice of your own?
I ended up not really continuing with painting, but I've always endeavored into some sort of creative something. Right now, I've been very deeply into crocheting. So more of that traditional art form. And I just love making things for people. So I make blankets for friends and things like that. So, and I still draw, but I wouldn't say I've continued a studio practice. No.
You followed a career path at many locations in the state, and tell us a little bit about that. And the one thing I'm most interested in is you've been director of programs for the Indiana Arts Commission for some time, but now you are considered a deputy director, which I think is a promotion, and how the scope of those duties have expanded.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's funny because it's when I was doing my LinkedIn profile, I'm like, I'm director of programs, and then I became the deputy director of programs, and I was like, I wonder if people think I've been demoted to the deputy director, right? Yeah. So in terms, it's more. There's elements of vision planning, so it's more inclusive and more of a leadership level, to thinking about how our programs are really aligning with strategic plan priorities, also government priorities, and and how we can partner with other state agencies or external partners to join forces and resources to deepen our impact. So it's more, I think, strategic than at the director level. It's more, I think, a larger footprint in this position.
So with what you just said, are you comfortable sharing any long-range plans or desires or hopes you have to facilitate both, like in the near and far future?
I think for us right now, and yeah, Esther, I'm happy to. Right now, we're doing a bridge plan because our strategic plan ended, so we're kind of in between what we had and where we're going to create the next one. When COVID hit, we got a significant budget cut, and so we put on hibernation some significant programs that were of great impact and benefit to our artists in the state. So I think we want to see a deeper investment in artists as we move forward. We want to bring more to the table for them since that had been decreased. Now we augmented because we were able to do so with our friends over at the Indiana Small Business Development Center, who were kind enough to share some of their CARES funding so that we could provide training for artists across the state. But we really want to have a stronger, deeper connection on the long term programmatically. Another area that we want to deepen is arts education. Luckily, we have established a partnership with the Indiana Department of Education to educate artists and educators on arts integration in the classroom so that if they teach both the arts and the particular classroom subject area at the same time. And so we'll also do a fellowship component to that. And then another area that we are deepening is lifelong art. So creative aging, our state is wonderfully aging, and we have so many incredible citizens that are just excited to learn a new craft and get together. And so it reduces isolation. It increases the health and well-being of our creative citizens. So those are kind of some of the areas that we're looking to deepen, along with, I think, a deepening relationship between communities and recognizing how to work with the arts sector for economic development. So that's a lot, but we're really excited to move forward and grow.
So Paige, with the aging, the art for like the aging community, you already had that call out, and has that program started? Have you had the first go round of that teaching experience?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And they're doing so many neat things. It's they've been sharing images with us. Like Roberta Wong is a dancer, and she's working in Westminster Village, which is a retirement village. And she has been doing some sort of a dance with the residents. I think she has a group of like 10 people. One lady brought in a bust with her first ballet dress, I think it was. Oh, and so all the stories started to come around about that. So it's just really connecting people in a really deep and beautiful way. So yes, it's going, and it's going great. And we want to see this move beyond just a funded program that we receive funding on a national basis to something that will continue and grow over time.
Now, you've had a new executive director there since November, which we've had on Art of the Air. We've interviewed her when she first came on. How's the dynamic changed a little bit, having retirement and then everything? And how's that changed? And she had some great visioning for the program, too. But then, of course, we had the COVID thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that it's changed. The biggest change is what a lot of people have been experiencing, which is just staff change. Maya's been with us for a really long time. She's a fantastic human. She's a great leader. We all love her, and we're a very strong, connected, passionate team. So I think, working with Maya as a new leader is just, it's been fun, and it's really exciting to reevaluate our practices and see, ways that we can strengthen and improve and it takes maybe things to the side that aren't functioning as well. So I mean, I think everybody's just really excited to do this work and move forward under this leadership.
And you have a great team in place down there too. That's true. Go ahead.
I told Maya, and I'll just reiterate it to you, that the programming that you had during the full blush of the pandemic was so important to me personally. I mean, I sat in on all of that. It was so interesting and so relevant, and the sense of community and the new people I met, it was very, very valuable. Are you still going to continue with these online ways where people from all over Indiana can meet? Because I think that was, I mean, even if it was on a more casual, I don't know, but those talks were really, really wonderful. And the breakouts were like, life-giving.
Are you talking about the Arts for All webinar series that we just did?
No, I'm talking about right from, you did like all sorts of interesting things in the beginning, like with resources, maybe people in the, but there were lawyers, there were.
Oh, yeah. We've done a little bit. We did the Arts for All with Dr. Lasambe, who is with doing United Front in Fort Wayne, and really advancing inclusion. And that was
wonderful.
Really powerful conversations. Regarding moving forward, it is really interesting in terms of the dynamic of behavior. There's a huge attrition rate. So we'll have a bunch of people sign up, and we're now looking at maybe 30% actually will attend. So we are offering it, but we're pivoting more to in-person than we are doing online. I think we are going to continue online because it provides more access. And so we're looking to do, I think, another series around July, mostly because that's around final grant report time. So that's where we kind of start to learn, here's areas that we could strengthen. But Esther, I will take what you said to heart and think about how we can continue that. Because if there's a need and people want to still feel connected and be a part of those resources, I want to make sure that we deliver on what folks really are interested in. It
seemed like we all really we enjoyed meeting each other, and because we're from all over the state.
Yeah.
Speaking, we just want to see how COVID impacted both the Indiana Arts Commission. We touched on it briefly, but also you personally and everything. We know that there was a lot of resources to keep arts groups afloat and everything, but also, how did you handle that personally? I mean, it was we actually on our program did a couple shows. We did 3 shows in the early part of it, and then we revisited a year later, interviewing artists, how it impacted them. But how did it impact Paige?
How did it impact Paige? You know what? Paige loved it because Paige is, I'm an introverted extrovert, and I thought it was wonderful to be able to walk every day at lunch and, not have to worry about commuting. I was still connected with people constantly. I love to be able to help people. So what an opportunity to really help people. We were so blessed with the governor, allocating funding so that we could help our sector, really, really meaningfully helped our sector. That was such a privilege and honor. So I like new things. It's not that that's a good reason, but I guess I flourish under challenges, and it was such an honor to be able to help our sector during that time. I just wanted to do everything I could because I knew our arts they were hugely impacted. Jiminy. So it was like, okay, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? And so that was really, for me, that was really great.
Yeah, coming out of it, and and we'll talk about this later. Our show was done as a live show in a studio, and COVID pushed us out of the studio to do what we do now, which is the better way of doing it. So, but I know, like Theater at the Center here at Munster Center for Performing Arts, they're still dark. They still have not come back.
Really?
all the staff is gone. It's an equity theater; it's expensive to do. So,
very,
very valuable. So.
Yeah, I'm still closed down as well. So I want to take you back to childhood for a minute again. So
okay.
who were some of your art crushes then? Like, who did you like? Even I'm talking even like elementary school, if you remember then, like if not, then high school. like someone in particular?
Oh my goodness. So,
Because it changes so much, because I was thinking about, wow, where I started and where I am now with like who I gravitate toward and admire.
I'm going to kind of throw a curveball. And the first person that I really fell in love with as an artist was actually Kurt Vonnegut, who of course is a writer. He's also a visual artist. And one of the things that I loved so much was in Breakfast of Champions, which is one of his seminal books, the writer becomes a part of the book. Like he's I think they call it a third person omniscient. But I never read a book where the writer, the author is actually like in the book too, and talking about the characters in the book. And I was like, it broke a wall that I didn't know that you could break. And I tell you, that was a big deal to me. And that's art, right? It's breaking down the walls. And I thought, I couldn't stop reading. Yeah. And then the next artist that I stumbled across was Jackson Pollock, which is, I draw and paint from life generally. So Jackson Pollock is a huge difference. He's completely what we would call abstract expressionist or and non-objective. So, but again, it's going outside of what's normal and really exploring things that are beyond these traditions, that these boxes that we live in. I still am like a relatively conservative dresser, but intellectually, I just love that kind of stuff. So those were kind of my mid crushes.
I feel the same. Like I've never dyed my hair, but I tell you, if in my mind, my hair is rainbow colored,
Yeah, I feel you. I do, Esther, because if I had colored hair, then I would draw attention to myself. And I don't really like that, but I will use high key color in my paintings for sure.
We'll talk a little bit. One of the primary things that you take care of among programs is the grant process and how that works and everything. And I think some of our audience may not even know that. I know artists do that get grants, but tell us a little bit about that whole process.
Well, the process that we have is, we will offer a grant program and we will launch it and let everybody know about it. And I think the key thing is if you're an artist or a community leader or somebody in the arts in general, or maybe you're with a community organization and you would like to do an arts project, get on our electronic newsletter to learn about opportunities that are coming your way. We do have our traditional programs that we offer every year, arts organization support and arts project support. And those are generally due around the same time, which is the first week of March. So something to keep in your minds, to look out for. And the process is, you write an application in the online system that we have, and we provide a lot of resources. So utilize those resources. If there's a program manager and you have a question, reach out to that program manager. They are here to help you. Do not be afraid. Do not be intimidated. They are thrilled that you will contact them because they want to help. We are here to help the community. We are here to help Indiana thrive. So it's just what we do. You just do the grant application by the deadline, of course. That's super important. And then we'll have some sort of panel process. My sales pitch number 2, if you're recruited to be a grant panelist, do it. It will really help your grant writing expertise. Larry, I'm sure, can testify to that fact. And plus, it's a really good public service. And you learn about other cool stuff that people are doing in Indiana, and you might steal and adapt those ideas. So that's my sales pitch on both fronts. Or 3, right? Get that electronic newsletter subscription. Apply to a grant, call your program manager if you have any questions, and become a grant panelist for the Indiana Arts Commission or one of our regional arts partners. And that will really help you get you settled and acclimated to our world.
Yeah, the regional partnership actually is locally focused. It wasn't always like that, but for quite a few years now, that's been in place, and you can go through them. And what's nice about that is what may work for Indianapolis or Evansville may not work for Northwest Indiana. And so that's a very important part of that. So, well, Paige, future plans you have. You're just happy as a clam doing the Indiana Arts Commission. And so tell us about any vision you have for yourself, or you just might have visions doing things there.
Larry, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I really need to come up with my own vision for myself. And I think that's about as far as I've gotten. I think sometimes I think, it'd be nice to be back at the community level, since at the state level, we're largely largely, this might be an overstatement, but there's a big separation between actually being with the art and being all about the art. So the big, I like to be with and smell the art and be around the art and see the art. So I think down the road, you'll probably see me back down to the community level, but who knows? I do really enjoy the work that we're doing, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing as well.
So let us know about how we can get in touch with you about the process and everything like that, and also the Indiana Arts Commission, different ways to do that, website, all social media.
Sure. So our website is in.gov/arts. And when it comes to Facebook, I think you just query Indiana Arts Commission and you will be able to find us no problem. We also have an Indiana Public Art Facebook page. So if you have an opportunity you want to find an artist or you want to promote, that's something that you could do as well. So you can reach me at you finding my email address on the website is probably the best. But if you have a super good memory, unlike me, it's psharp@iac.in.gov.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Art in the Air, which is also supported by the Indiana Arts Commission through WVLP. That's Paige Sharp, who's Deputy Director of Programs for the Indiana Arts Commission, where she just shared her vision and all the things that she do. Paige, thank you so much for being on Art on the Air.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Larry. It's such a pleasure talking to you both. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
We would like to welcome Dave Mika to Art on the Air. Dave is the newly appointed Executive Director of South Shore Arts and the Northwest Indiana Symphony. He has a long career in executive management, primarily in banking. Dave balances all of that with an active role in community organizations and holds a deep appreciation for the arts. Aloha, Dave. Larry and I thank you for joining us on Art on the Air.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
So excited for you.
Appreciate you coming on. Well, Dave, how we like to start out our interviews is telling a little bit about yourself. I always like to say how you got from where you were growing up, college, family, and everything, to where you are now. So tell us about yourself.
I appreciate that, Larry, and it could be a long story, but I'll make it brief.
No,
Honestly,
we love long stories.
Well, I'll meet you in the middle then here. And so, how about this? I'm a Chicago kid, born in the city, lived there for a while, but quite honestly, grew up all over the Midwest. I, from Chicago to Detroit, to many years in Lansing, Michigan, to Minneapolis, and back to Chicago, where I graduated high school at Downers Grove North. Went down to the University of Illinois, where in Champaign-Urbana, where I met my wife. We got married right out of school, and that's how I, quite honestly, got into my career in banking. That was my first job out, and really have worked for two organizations pretty much my entire banking career. What eventually became J.P. Morgan Chase started out as a little community bank, Gary Wheaton Bank. Became First Chicago MBD, Bank One. And yes, it's what brought me to Northwest Indiana was when that transition happened, and then ultimately becoming part of JP Morgan Chase. And so that was it. And then, about 12, 13 years or so ago, Mercantile Bank here locally was bought by Harris Bank, and there's a gentleman, Mike Baird, who was president, was retiring, and I got this call out of the blue saying, "Hey, how would you like to run a bank right in your backyard?" And I had been traveling all over the country with Chase on an acquisition, and was coming back and realized I'd missed 2 years of my kid's life, and they were all in high school at that point. And so that opportunity hit home with me, and I made the transition over and I moved over to Harris Bank, now BMO Harris Bank, and ran the Indiana market for a couple of years before going on to do a variety of things. And so that's sort of my work background, but it was through I think that experience that, coming up in banking, especially back when I started, your involvement in the community was a big part of what we did as bankers. It was your connection to the community, and it created some terrific relationships. And so I learned that at a very early age in banking, and I carried that with me throughout all of my work in Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and ultimately Indiana. And got involved in some great organizations. And so one of the ones with Harris that got me engaged, which is relevant to this conversation, was that's how I first became affiliated with South Shore Arts, became a board member. It was one of the biggest organizations we supported financially. We felt like it made a real impact between South Shore Arts and the symphony in our region. And so really engaged with John Kane, the executive director at the time. And that was my entree onto the board and my involvement in South Shore Arts.
So South Shore Arts absorbed the symphony. Were you part of that movement on the board? Because, they actually operated separately for many years and then came together. And that was kind of a good melding, probably, because the symphony was having some financial issues, and that kind of saved them.
Well, I will tell you what, a couple different things there. One, I was not directly involved. That actually happened just prior to me getting on the board. So Symphony was already under the management of South Shore Arts. And you got to give a number of people in the community and organizations out there a lot of credit for helping make that happen, because there was a very large 7-figure financial contribution to really help manage the symphony and keep that going. And, we celebrated our 80th anniversary this year with the symphony. And I think a lot of that has to do with the community support that came through at that time. And then the efficiency that the combination of South Shore Arts managing the symphony operations has really brought to it, that's been able to sustain that organization. And we hope, not just to celebrate 80 this year, but, 120 years from now. That would be quite an accomplishment.
It will happen.
Absolutely confident. Part of my mission.
Well, can I take you back to childhood again? So in your school, what was your involvement with the arts? Did you take art classes? Did you favor any particular type of art yourself?
I would tell you, to be completely honest with you, and this is one of the surprising things as I think about my career choice, and that is I was an absolutely terrible musician, as much as I tried that. I was probably even worse of an artist, although I was part of the artistic team for our middle school newspaper, the Pink Panther, at Hayes Middle School. And I was the one responsible for drawing the Pink Panther. So I was actually very good at that. Learned to do that part very well. But honestly, no, I was a big reader. It wasn't until we had kids, and our children, we've got 3, all Valpo High School grads, Indiana University grads, all now professionally employed, gainfully employed, living in the city of Chicago. We're happy about that. But it was really through them that probably my biggest interest in the arts came through. And that was my daughter played the flute and the piccolo all through middle school, high school, and was ultimately part of the Northwest Indiana Youth Orchestra for 4 years. And so I spent many Sunday afternoons over at the Center for Visual and Performing Arts as they rehearsed on Sundays, and really got exposed to that music and her passion for it through her. And then with our kids as a whole, we just have had the opportunity to travel. And we always made it a point to check out all the museums we could, and whether that be, throughout the U.S. and quite honestly through there, they were very fortunate and qualified and studied abroad. And so we tended to follow them on our 25th wedding anniversary. On our 30th wedding anniversary, we went to, our daughter studied in Barcelona, so we went to Barcelona, picked her up, and went to Paris and Rome. And then our son, as part of his study, studied in London. And so we had a chance to go to London and Ireland. And we hit some unbelievable museums and saw some unbelievable places when we did that. And every time it was, whether it be the Louvre or Musée d'Orsay in Paris, where I will tell you, I fell in love with the whole Impressionist era and Monet. And we even made a special trip out to Monet's home in Giverny, France. And what just an incredible experience to stand in his windows, look out over the gardens and the pond. My favorite photo I ever took is my daughter standing on the bridge where the water lily was painted, and just incredible. And so
Magical.
yeah, it was. It absolutely was. And so my appreciation and love of the arts didn't come from my youth, but really came from my kids.
Whatever it takes. Now, you bring a different kind of sensibility to the Arts Center there, but also you have a very strong community involvement. You live in Porter County, and I see in your resume here some of the things that you were involved with, Boys and Girls Clubs. Tell us about, first of all, how that community involvement really will help you do the job as executive director, and then also you bring the business sensibility to an arts organization, which many arts organizations don't have. So tell us about some of those things, how you address those.
Well, I mean, I hope they're assets. And while I don't bring that strong historical arts background to this that I think many people would think of, I will tell you, I think, Larry, to your question on, community involvement, some of the engagement, I think my time on the board of United Way and campaign chair for United Way here locally helped me connect with an unbelievable number of businesses and business leaders and not-for-profit agencies and organizations out there that I've got direct relationships with. And that collaboration is going to be critical, because I think we really have a way to bring the arts into helping enrich people's lives, regardless of their background, where they're coming from, and how we can connect with them. I think Boys and Girls Club, I was on the board there for more than 10 years, past, present, and everything. And it was because of the programming that they do, the way they engage youth, the way they provide opportunities to families and support them. I just see, I know Ryan Smiley, the executive director there, very well, and I see huge opportunities for us to enrich and engage and partner through organizations like that, to continue to broaden the reach of the arts in our communities as we're there. And I'll go even one step further, and that is I've been involved in an awful lot of economic development organizations, in multiple states, but including, here in our region with the Forum, being on the board of the Forum, on the board of the Economic Development Corporation over in Valparaiso. And I will tell you, one of the things that I think people might find really surprising is that the passion for arts and leisure and the impact that can have on a community really comes from my time as economic development, out there. Because, when you are an economic development professional, a banker, and you're looking at ways to grow a healthy community, it's not just focused on employers and businesses and financing them and helping them grow. It's not just focused on home builders and helping people buy homes and doing all of that. But today, to have the most prosperous and economically viable community out there and provide the best quality of life, all of that has to be balanced with that enrichment opportunity that the arts really bring. On how do anybody can live in a house, anybody, and there are lots of organizations that help people that have, food instability, that they don't have access to or the resources to acquire the food they need. And so you can help people eat, you can help them live in your community, you can help them find a job in your community. But if you don't tie it in with programming that the arts can provide to give people an avenue to express themselves, or to relate to other people, or just to experience life in a different way, to really add to that value, you find communities and quality of life isn't as high. And I think it was from that lens of economic development that ultimately showed me the importance of organizations like South Shore Arts and the Symphony and what we do.
So follow on is, of course, you're taking over someone who's been there 29 years, John Kane, and
The dynamic John Kane.
Yes, very much so.
who has probably a little bit of a different background, but he didn't really have either a strong business background or actually mostly antique background. But looking at what he's built with the organization, what do you see some of the future ways of expanding, like in programs or things like that? I know, and also it sounds like the economic development sustainability of the organization.
And I'll add to that because so what is the first things you're working on as well? So that ties into Larry's question.
Yeah. Where to start? The legacy that John Kane has left as executive director of this organization is absolutely phenomenal. It is a tremendous organization that is, one of 12 regional arts partners for the Indian Arts Commission. Probably, one of the largest regional arts partners, when you consider the volume of artistic programming and organizations we have between Lake, LaPorte, and Porter counties. When you consider our programming around education, exhibits out there, our art sales and our gift shop and our symphony, it's an organization that today has a variety of avenues on how we can connect and bring arts to our community and, quite honestly, support arts through our role as the regional arts partner. So some big shoes to fill. And I would say short-term priorities are this. One is we're still coming out of COVID. And it's an exciting time because we're starting to see buzz here for instance, at our primary offices here, the Center of Visual and Performing Arts in Munster. Pulled in on a Sunday afternoon. We did a reception for 22 of our artists that we represent through our gift shop and gallery here. We had them in showing their wares. We also had the youth orchestra gala that day. The Girl Scouts had a fashion show, and I pulled in, and the parking lot was just full. And it was exciting to see this building come to life again, which for the first time in a couple of years, we just haven't seen. And so we've moved on, we've taken that to the next level. We've now expanded our hours again here in our gallery, especially with our Tri-County, the 48th anniversary of our Tri-County High School art show, representing 17 high schools, 4 middle schools. There we've got hundreds of pieces of art that were hand selected by teachers at those schools to be shown at this show. And it is a phenomenal show that has thousands of dollars in awards and scholarships and prizes to these students at the end of it, which happens on May 1st. And what we learned is, guess what? Last year we were 10 to 3. We had a lot of families and patrons who wanted to see the show that couldn't get in. So we expanded back 10 to 5 most days. On Thursdays, noon to 7. We wanted to get evening hours in. We opened up both Saturdays and Sundays. And so I think it's really making things accessible again that we're offering here.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
I think, another big piece was really expanding our classes and our programming on the education side there. I think you're going to see in the coming months and sessions that we offer exploratory opportunities around ceramics and all sorts of drawing and painting and other types of our art classes. But you're also going to find things like master classes, where if you want to go from exploratory to really building skill and taking, your high school arts experience, or as an adult or a professional growing to that next level, programming that we really want to offer to create this artistic community where people can really hone their skills out there. I think on the symphony side, our big gala next fall is going to roll out West Side Story. We're really excited about this show. And not only that, but we've already made arrangements, and we're working with Porter County to actually run out the show, not just our traditional 2 nights of it, but doing a third show and doing it in Porter County. And we're working very hard with Valparaiso High School and the Valparaiso schools to have a central place in their auditorium there to deliver a third night. So for me, expanding the reach and what we do and creating energy around the arts again is really my number one priority.
Wow, that sounds so fabulous.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting. It is going to be exciting.
And that's the same thing that Kirk is doing, I think, with his other symphonies. That's going to be like a concert version of West Side Story with the symphony, if I'm correct.
That's absolutely. We're going to have. We haven't worked out all the final details, but a small chorus support, and so we'll have a choral support and some great music that way, and then all the orchestral music of West Side Story, which is just phenomenal. Just was up for the Academy Award, so we think there's some buzz there. And to your point, Phil is affiliated with the New Philharmonic in DuPage County. Over there, they just did this and they sold out every night they offered it. So we're very excited about expanding using our musicians, which is we have top notch union professional. I mean, it is an unbelievable orchestra. The talent of our orchestra, and then we've got this great community chorus and tapping folks from the chorus and other professionals to support the musicians from singing side of the performance is going to be spectacular.
And of course, that's very timely with West Side Story. You talked briefly about how COVID impacted South Shore Arts, but just tell us a little bit how that impacted you in terms of your daily life.
For me, probably the biggest thing was it really, banking, and especially I had worked all over. So after Northwest Indiana, I moved into Chicago. I ran Harris's Market in downtown Chicago, did some headquarter functions. I went up and ran in their biggest market up in the North Shore, office out of Winnetka, and then went over to where I sort of grew up in banking and ran their banks out in the western suburbs based out in Naperville. And I started in banking in Wheaton, so it was like going home. It was a nice way to do it. And where COVID really impacted it is driving from Valparaiso to all of those different locations. Because my wife and I, after moving 3 times for work and in a very short amount of time, said we're not moving. And we've lived in Valpo for over 20 years. It's the longest we've ever lived anywhere. And it was a great decision. But COVID made me realize quality of life and what it was like not having to drive every day over to Illinois. And I had been in, this year completed my 35th year in banking, and it got John and I talking last year. So the biggest impact for me of COVID was recognizing there was more to life than just work, and what did I really want to do? And I had always set a goal. My dad retired at 54 back in the day when there were great pensions, and I had a goal to beat him, and I couldn't do that, but I still was able to retire from banking before 60. And I don't think if COVID wouldn't have happened, I don't think I would have made that jump or made that change.
Yeah, and South Shore is so lucky because I really think your background will bring such richness to what the organization will be able to do. And I think it was brilliant.
Well, you are very generous. And I would say what I am most excited about is the enrichment and the opportunity it presents me to just dive deeper into something that I've scratched the surface of, I've come to appreciate, but this is going to help me get to know not just our industry, but truly all aspects of art in a completely different way. And I'm personally am very excited about that.
Right, and integrating it into the community in very unique ways. It'll be wonderful.
Well, visions for anything, and we're about 2 minutes away from wrapping up here, Dave, but any visions that you're bringing to it? I know you're just brand new on the job, but what you foresee maybe opening some remote facilities or things like that in the other areas? I know there's several of them that South Shore Arts operate now, but
right, they have quite a few satellites.
I would say this. We have some, but not as many. We've got our substation in Hammond that, quite honestly, it's been closed during COVID. We really couldn't run programming. So we're going to get that thing up and running here this year. We've got our Teen Arts Board that we're really going to task and give them a leadership opportunity to help us reimagine what we can do with that space. And so exciting stuff for that. We've historically always had a place in Crown Point, but again, during COVID, that we couldn't run programming, and we sort of released that. So, getting back in at that point, not just to Crown Point, but we've got all of Lake Porter and LaPorte County. How do we connect? And so some of that is going to be our physical presence and offering the services, but it's just as much how do we connect with arts organizations that we're connected with through our regional arts partnership. How do we support them in the continued outreach of all of us together to bring more art opportunity to our communities?
We have just about a minute left. Let us know how people can find South Shore Arts, either online and location and everything. Of course, I know that, but people may just be tuning in and not know. So,
no, you can find out all the information about the art side of what we do, art education, our gallery, and the shows. We got some great shows. Nature Lovers coming up this June. So you got to, not only after the high school show, but this is 9 professional artists that we're going to highlight, photographers, all sorts of mediums, starting in June. You can find all of that at southshoreartsonline.org. So really important, it's .org. There. So that's all the information about our classes, our gallery exhibits, our gift shop and art sales, all there. And then on the symphony side, it is nisorchestra.org, which is all the information about our upcoming concerts. We've got a concert May 5th on our movies, and then in June on iconic 70s hits, some great music coming up. All the youth orchestra stuff there, all at that website.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Art in the Air. Dave Mika, who's now the new executive director of South Shore Arts, which also oversees the symphony. Looking forward to talking to you in the future for more things and seeing you on the Regional Arts Council. Dave, thank you for being on Art on the Air.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to Art in the Air, and we'd like to thank our guests this week on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art in the Air is heard every Friday at 11 a.m. and rebroadcast Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP. Art in the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m. Plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks again to Greg Kovach, WVLP station manager, and Tom Maloney, vice president of radio operations for Lakeshore Public Radio. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant and the National Endowment for the Arts. Underwriters for Art in the Air, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments and Marilyn Van, Arts Patron. Art in the Air is always looking for financial support. We'd like to thank our current supporters. If you're looking to support Art in the Air, Esther and I especially would invite you to become an underwriter of this program in particular. We have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA. You can find out support information there. So don't just be an Art on the Air listener. Become a supporter or underwriter in whatever amount you're able to do so we continue to bring you great content and this great local programming. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. And you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck, BRECH.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world